who exactly is Lilith?
Hey everybody, the word Lilith appears one time in the Hebrew Bible in Isaiah 34:14 in a list of demonic forces or entities that inhabit this chaotic wilderness that will become of Edom as a result of God's judgment. And the Hebrew is a borrowing from the Akkadian term, which itself is a borrowing from the Sumerian term and seems to refer to some kind of demonic entities. A class of demonic entities that were associated with stormy winds or something like that. And if you'd like to look up a little bit more, here is the entry from the DDD, the Dictionary of Deities and Demons in the Bible.
We all know the story of creation with Adam and Eve. However, in Jewish mythology, there is another story of Lilith, who is said to be the first wife of Adam.
So the association of Lilith with Adam comes from a text called the Alphabet of Ben Sirah, which is a collection of proverbs where each one begins with a subsequent letter of the alphabet. So you have 22 in total. And this was a text written probably between around 700 and 1000 CE. So it's a medieval text. And it is consolidating a few different earlier Jewish traditions about Lilith and about Adam and Eve. Because of the two creation accounts in the beginning of Genesis, there was an early Jewish tradition about Adam having had a first wife before Eve. Because we have the man and woman being created simultaneously in Genesis 1, and then we have Adam being created and then a woman being created afterwards in Genesis 2. And if you try to consolidate these, one way to approach it is to say, well, there was a woman that was created with Adam that then disappears for this second woman to be created. And so there are some Jewish streams of tradition that suggest Adam had a first wife. There are separate streams of tradition about Lilith as a demonic figure, and particularly one that would afflict newborns. And one of the things that the Alphabet of Ben Sirah does is brings these two traditions together and suggests that Lilith was that original wife of Adam, and then explains how it is that she came to leave the Garden of Eden and also became this demonic figure.
For Eve. According to legend, as Adam and Lilith were created from the same clay in the Garden of Eden, Lilith considered them both to be of equal status. Therefore, when she was told to submit to Adam, or leave the garden, she decided to leave.
So according to the Alphabet of Ben Sirah, as soon as Lilith is created and named, they begin to fight. And there's an element of domination and subordination going on here, but the primary context is who's going to be on top during sex. Adam says, you're not fit to be on top, and I'm not going to be on the bottom. And this reflects this concept that had existed for many, many centuries, that sexual positions reflected social hierarchies, hierarchies of domination. And so for a man to be on the bottom was to subordinate himself to the woman. It was emasculating. There were traditions in some early Jewish texts about this causing diarrhea in men or making men ritually impure, and we find this in other ancient Southwest Asian texts as well. And so Lilith says, no, we're both made from the same clay, so we're equals. And she decides, I'm out. She pronounces the ineffable name, and then she leaves the Garden of Eden.
It's said that God sent angels to persuade her to come back to the garden, but she refused and rebuked God, thus becoming a demon.
So according to the story, God sends 3 angels after Lilith, Sanoi, Sansanoi, and Samangaloth with instructions to bring her back, or tell her if she doesn't come back that 100 of her children will die every day. They catch up with her over a sea that is described as the sea that the Egyptians would later be drowned in. They use drowning her in the sea as a threat to try to bring her back, but she rebuffs them. Says she was created only to afflict newborn children, so that's what she's going to do. She's going to afflict newborn boys until day 8 and newborn girls until day 20. Although she says if she sees an amulet with the 3 angels' names on it, she will have no power over those children. And so this probably reflects the convention of using an amulet with those names on it as an apotropaic means of warding off harm from newborn children. And this narratively accounts for that practice.
Some writings even say that she went back to the garden as the serpent that tempted Adam and Eve to eat the forbidden fruit, as an act of revenge against the couple, causing them to get thrown out of the garden.
So the story from the alphabet of Ben Sira gets picked up in the Zohar and in Kabbalistic writings, which come up with their own traditions about Lilith as well, including one from the 13th century known as the Treatise on the Left Emanation, which is kind of Gnostic sounding. But in that story, there are two different Liliths, these female demons, and one of them is the serpent in the garden. But the serpent here doesn't just tempt Eve to eat the fruit, but seduces Eve and sleeps with Eve before Adam has a chance to. So these traditions branch out in a lot of different directions.
It is said that she's mentioned in the Bible in Isaiah 34:14 as the night creature, but no one knows.
Yes, Lilith is explicitly mentioned in Isaiah 34:14. That's where all these traditions come from.